Give 2 weeks notice? Fine, bye. I was working at this clothing store years ago. No commission. It was the brand's first store in my area. And I stayed with them for about 2 years. They were pretty desperate too, as they hired me on the spot. Anyway, all the supervisors I liked ended up quitting, and the remaining ones were just plain not nice. I was the youngest on the team, and they always excluded me and bullied me. I guess jealousy? Which I never understood. Because although I got positive reviews and customers making sure to point out that I helped them, we did not have sales commissions. I just liked to help. And I liked fashion. I also was in school. And they often called me to cover for people. School was close by, so I could be there fast. I was always adaptable for them. But this one supervisor just had it out for me. My hours got cut. They were messing with my mental health. I needed a change. I applied to this other job and I was quite sure I got it. I decided I would book 2 weeks off work. Around the time the start date would be. My supervisor did not even want to let me have the time off, despite it being the only days other than exams I had booked off in 2 years. And they are unpaid. Fast forward to the day before my 2-week vacation. I got the job. I show up at the clothing store. No shift. And ask to speak with my supervisor. We talk. I quit. She had the sarcastic happiness. But I did not care. I was over it. The supervisor made it clear that I was still required to work all my shifts for the next 2 weeks. And that I better not slack. I smiled at her, thanked her for acknowledging my work ethic, and put my name tag and keys on her desk. She looked confused. I reminded her that I took 2 weeks off. So this is goodbye. I turned around and left. Mental health has been so much better without her. The store is now closed permanently. Edit. Original contract said I was supposed to give 2 weeks notice. I don't know what the penalty would be if I went Mia. This job was not a career job. I did not care for a reference and did not intend to put it on a resume. Edit 2. This is a Canadian story and I could have just quit on the spot, but I followed the rules. Thanks for the awards, cool. That I better not slack. Or else what? She would fire you. That is a pretty empty threat by a helpless supervisor. Sounds like you gave them a 2-day notice. As in you're leaving today. It sounded funnier in my head. 20 years ago I worked as a holiday season hire for Ancient Marine, and when they cut my hours near the end of the season, one went looking for another job. I found something, so gave notice. But the new job wanted me right away and I only had 1 3-hour shift scheduled in my remaining time there. So I basically said screw that. I'm not coming back. Got an angry call from the manager and I informed her I was at work and not returning to that establishment. I was told I could never work for that company again. I was blacklisted. All I could think was, thank God. I hate working retail. Anyway, all the supervisors I liked ended up quitting and the remaining ones were just plain not nice. IOW, the competent people had somewhere else to go. But the bad supervisors had no one who wanted them. That can happen in a sinking ship. Helps it sink even faster. Retail's a bitch. My first Black Friday I was working at one of the home improvement stores at 3 a.m. to noon. I was the only cashier on who was an actual cashier. All registers were open. I was always getting asked what to do. We talk. I quit. The supervisor made it clear that I was still required to work all my shifts for the next 2 weeks. Lol, yeah, there is absolutely no requirement for anyone quitting to give 2 weeks notice. They don't need to give you 2 weeks notice when they let you go. When I quit Radio Shack, I simply walked in and said, I got a new job and it starts on Monday. My boss said, "You need to give 2 weeks notice," I replied. "In 2 weeks you'll notice I haven't shown up for 2 weeks."
Well played.
Almost no one is on contract in America. Making assumptions. Especially part-time retail. You were at will employed. Your hiring docs probably said this. Always insist on and keep you own copies. You could quit with no notice. Just as they could fire you with no notice. Other nations YMMV. In my company, I did employment investigations for a few years. As part of our hiring process, we would always ask if we could contact their current employer, never doing so if there was any possible question as to whether the employer would react negatively to that inquiry. What that should tell you is that there are many vindictive employers who crap all over their employees who find something better. Example: one applicant had been working for a security company for years. He was getting an education in criminal justice at the same time. His old employer said, he just started acting like he knew more than the rest of us. Yeah. Well, he probably did. They tried to shush tea all over him and we just thought they were not happy he was bettering himself. We hired him. He was a terrific employee. Hard-working and pleasant. Job references from former employers need to be taken with a grain of salt. Anything negative needs to be seriously verified and documented. Just for future reference, a job that you quit cannot require you to work after that. A 2-week notice is a courtesy when leaving a company, workplace. Supervisor was just trying to ruin your life for those next 2 weeks. If you go in and quit that day, that's it, you're done. Your supervisor seemed to be very confused about the difference between quitting on the spot and a 2-week notice. If I'm ever looking to quit, I am going to do this. Take 2 weeks off and hand in my 2-week notice the day before. I wish I had thought of it myself 4 jobs ago. I'll give a 2-week notice. Hey boss? In 2 weeks from now, you gonna wonder why you ain't see me for the last 2 weeks. A former coworker of mine did basically this after 20+ years of employment. Not out of hostility at the employer, but just not wanting to be fussed over for retiring. Scheduled some vacation, waited until the end of day on Friday, handed in her resignation, came in Saturday to work her last day. Absolute legend. I once gave a 2-week notice at a retail store, but HR forgot to tell the area manager. I worked my 2 weeks and the first day at my new job the manager calls me yelling because I'm Mia. I was like, dude, I gave HR my 2 weeks. His only response was, well, nobody told me. And then he hung up. Meh. These kind of jobs like to boast that you need to give 2 weeks. You don't. The only jobs you need to are career jobs that will be called as past references in your field. Even then you can explicitly say XYZ job had horrible management and I had to leave. And give no reference contact for them. That kind of original contract really isn't binding. Terms of employment is what that is. You are just agreeing to be courteous and not drop them in the grease. When you asked for the time off, you had already met that obligation. But that agreement for you to work an additional 2 weeks isn't an agreement for you to take 2 final weeks of abuse. Employment is a two-way street. If they don't want you to just walk out and leave them high and dry, they still need to be decent to you. If a job is just absolutely miserable, you have no moral or legal obligation to stay 5 minutes, let alone 2 weeks. There are literally 0 repercussions. It's about as realistic as your permanent record in school. Glad you got out of there. And look out for yourself and your own mental health. The penalty for not giving 2 weeks notice is that your ex-boss is mad at you. Yeah, you did the right thing. Absolutely. And good on you. I hate to say this, but I have seen a version of this for a while. A person in their 40s comes in with and just makes it their clubhouse. Push out the good people. Bring in their friends. Make everyone miserable. The 2 worst I have worked with were named Sue and Melanie. Just miserable people. One place closed 2 years after I left. The other still works for the company, but lost us our biggest account at the time. I am way happier working with my current client. Fuck shirt jobs. Walk the fuck out if you're unhappy and you can afford a bit of time without work.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Haircast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.